In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to clean a canister filter. And this filter here is a Fluval 406. And this video will pretty much apply to doing any sort of filter maintenance, whether it be, a typical sponge filter, hang on the back filter, or any other filter like that. It's the same principles really. And there are some things that you should do and some things that you really shouldn't do that could potentially restart the cycle on your tank. So as easy as it looks, just cleaning out a filter, there are some things that you should know. So firstly, when you take the sponges out of the water or out of the canister filter, you can't let them dry out. If they dry out, all the beneficial bacteria that are living on the sponges and also on the ceramic media or any other media that you have, if they dry out, the bacteria will die off, and this will restart your cycle, resulting in possibly the deaths of all your fish. So when you take the sponges out, as you can see here, I've got a second bucket filled with water from the canister filter. And what you can use is water from your aquarium. Just put the water in a separate bucket, aquarium water, and just dump all the sponges and ceramic media and all of the media. Just dump it all out into a bucket full of tank water. And basically all you want to do is swill it off. You don't want to give it too much of a clean again because of the beneficial bacteria. You just want to give it a swill and just get rid of any debris or dead plant leaves or anything that can be blocking the water flow. That's all you're doing when you're cleaning a filter. Also, with the sponges as well, squeeze it out, get rid of anything that's inside there, any dirt or whatever. So giving it a good squeeze helps, but as you can see here, I'm just tipping all the dirty water and also some tank water into a big bucket filled with all my sponges and media. I'm just giving it a swill, just washing it out. If you wash it with chlorine, the chlorine will kill the beneficial bacteria, so whatever you do, don't wash anything with tap water, because the chlorine will kill everything that's living in those sponges and media. So here it's just an empty canister. I'm just giving it a wash with a cloth and swilling it out. This sponge filter has got loads of filter floss stuck to it. It always gets filter floss stuck to it, so I'm just picking as much of that off as I can, just so it doesn't block the sponge, block the water going through the sponge. So I'm just getting the sponges, I'm just squeezing them out, rinsing them off, making sure they're not blocked, and putting them back. And then once I put them back into these little compartments, I'll put them back into the canister filter. But at this point the canister filter has some water in it, so the sponges aren't being left to dry out. I'm putting them all back and then dropping them into the canister filter. The filter floss gets everywhere, just sticks to everything. And ceramic media is quite easy to clean. You literally just rinse it about. And I always put the sponges in first, so the water hits the sponges first, and then it travels through the biological media like the ceramic rings and anything else you have in there. In this case it's ceramic rings. So the sponges trap the larger particles, and then the cleaner water will travel through the biological media. But on every compartment of ceramic rings, I think this is the second or third compartment now, I do put a layer of sponge at the bottom just for the ceramic rings to sit on, and in case any particles do manage to get through. I'm just trying to find all the ceramic rings, make sure I haven't left any behind. I'll just pack it with loads of ceramic rings, because you can't have too much filtration, so just put as much in there as you can. Another compartment just full of ceramic rings, a few sponges, and this now is the filter floss. I probably should replace some of this because it does get quite messy and it falls apart after a while, but I've had it for a long time now, and it's the filter floss is just what apparently is supposed to polish the water. Some people don't bother with it, but if you've got a spare compartment, I'd put some in, and it's just the fine sponge, that's all it is, and you put that last because it's meant to just catch any of the tiny particles. And then this is the top, this goes on the top of all the compartments. This is a tough brush, an old tough brush, and I'll just use that, and I'll just give everything a good scrub. These are the big sponges in the Fluval 406. These are the big sponges that, these are the first that's in contact with the water when it comes in. It hits these sponges first. So these sponges are usually really filthy, and there's 4 of these, so these really do need to be, you know, rinsed and unblocked, because they can be black. So that's the sponges done. I just slide them back in place. Now this is probably one of the most important parts when cleaning a filter, and this applies to every pump or filter, but this is the impeller. So I'm taking the impeller cover off now. So the impeller is the motorised part that pushes the water through the filter, and if this part isn't cleaned properly, then this is what actually breaks and then makes the whole filter useless. So cleaning the impeller and making sure it's not blocked or restricted is one of the most important things to do. So I'm taking it apart now, and this is the same on every Fluval canister. You just pull out the impeller, and it's the same on other pumps as well. Normally you can just pull it out because it's magnetic, so you just pull out the impeller and just give it a clean. They don't usually get that dirty in my experience, but I suppose if you leave it for like a year, and eventually it's just gonna crash out and it's gonna stop working if you don't clean it. So just take it apart, give it a brush, and I haven't cleaned this for I'd say about 3-4 months, and it's not that dirty, to be honest. So just giving everything a clean. Oh, and this is the impeller well. It's called the well, and this needs to be cleaned as well, because things can build up in there and actually cause the impeller to break as well. So with this tough brush, I've actually cut it down, the head of the tough brush, each side, so that I can get it into these small gaps. So we just give everything a quick brush round, make sure there's nothing built up in there. Just give everything a swill. That's all you need to do really to clean these filters, and just make sure they carry on running. Make sure you know how to put the impeller back properly. And then this part I found out about the seals, because a lot of the time you can put a canister filter back after cleaning it and it starts to leak, which is one of the worst things that can happen really, is a leaking canister filter. and this is normally due to the rubber seals cracking. So every time you take the lid off a canister filter, you let the seal dry out. So what I found out, what people do is take off the seal and just coat it in some Vaseline, just to make sure that it doesn't dry out and crack. And also I've got a spare seal as well, just in case I put the filter back together, it starts leaking, and there's nothing I can do to stop it leaking because the seal's cracked. So I've got a spare one. But if we just get the seal off, coat it in Vaseline and put it back on, then it should be fine. Just make sure you know how to put the seal back on as well. So this is how I clean my canister filter. It's a Fluval 406. Applies to most filters, especially canister filters. They're all basically similar. I've had a few different canister filters. I'm just really coating this in Vaseline now, just because I really don't want it to leak. So I'm just putting all that around. If you have any questions, as usual, just ask me in the comments. I'll reply. And if you like the video, subscribe. Thanks a lot.